You know, from the trailer, I thought this was going to be a series about some kind of drug that made it able for you to live whatever fantasy that you wanted. Holy shit, was I wrong. Hello, brothers and sisters. My name is Daidarius, and welcome to the review of Maniac. So Maniac is this miniseries based upon an older TV series. It's about this company who have developed these drugs who's gonna make therapy sessions irrelevant. Because this drug in this experiment is gonna make you able to deal with whatever issues you have mentally, whatever the case may be. It may be mourning, it may be regret, or whatever mental illness or psychiatric shock you might suffer from, and just make you able to cope and live with it, and maybe even sometimes cure it. So therapists won't be needed anymore if this drug trial, becomes a success. So the series focuses on Owen, who is mentally ill, and Annie, who is dealing with some other issues. And they get into this drug trial for one reason or another, and here they meet each other. And doing this drug trial, whenever they go under, they connect with each other, and you're not supposed to do that. And we then get these bizarre scenarios that kind of depicts what they're going through and how to confront and deal with it in a very bizarre way. We also follow the people behind the drug trial as they desperately try to make sure that this trial works, because this is the 70-something iteration of this trial, and they haven't had great results before because no one has completed it yet, which means that people have possibly died or just, become vegetables and brain dead. So, not the greatest odds, really. So we just follow these two people's journey throughout this trial, and that is basically the plot of Maniac. So what do I like about this series? Everything. Everything. Just the way Jonah Hill depicts Owen is the most real acting I have seen for him ever. And I loved him in Wolf of Wall Street. But here he just seems like a broken man who has some mental issues that he wants to deal with, but doesn't know how, and he doesn't know what's real. And it just makes him extremely vulnerable. It makes him easy to empathize with. And you just feel for the guy, and you cheer him on because you want him to succeed in life. This might be the best acting I've ever seen come out of Jonah Hill. And Jonah Hill is a good actor. Yes, he mostly does some comedy stuff. He has done some dramatic stuff in the past. But this, to me, from the moment, is his magnum opus. And that might seem to be too much praise, but I was just blown away. Also, Emma Stone kills it. But, Emma Stone always kills it. And every actor in this series just kills it. And I love the fact there's no really normal people in this series. Everyone is some kind of crazy. Some is extremely crazy, another is just quirky, but no one seems normal. And I like the fact that I put that into this series, because when you really think about it, no one is normal. Everyone has some kind of issue or something different about them. I'm getting sidetracked here. Their acting is amazing, and I love the acting. I love the storytelling. I love the fact that it didn't force-fed the answers in our faces. It shows you enough information in an abstract way to make you able to piece the pieces together and see the whole picture, see what the meaning behind everything is. And when you get to the end of the series, everything makes sense to some extent. And I immediately wanted to rewatch the whole series just so I could pick up on some new aspect, because now I had new knowledge. So I would probably know what that specific thing meant or what that specific thing meant. And I love this series. The storytelling and the pacing is marvelous. There's only a few hiccups throughout this series, but for the most part it is engaging as fuck. This series takes its time to let you kind of figure out what's going on when you get to a new scenario. And then you just go with it, kind of like these characters are. They're just going with the flow with these scenarios. And then once the scenario has wrapped up, you're sitting there and kind of trying to piece together what was the meaning behind it. Why did they experience what they experienced, and how can that help them to deal with their issues, to confront their issues, and move on with their life. That is some pretty amazing storytelling right there. I also like the fact that it didn't try to make this a miraculous healing process, that once you have gone through this process you are healed, you are now normal. No, it's just like with therapy. When you are done with therapy, you are not healed from whatever mental illness you're living with or have, or whatever depression or psychiatric shock, or it could be grief or mourning or whatever. You're not cured from it. However, you might be able to live with it, to make sure that it doesn't control your life, but you control it. And that's pretty much how this series goes. Sure, these characters are different from when the series started to when the series ends, but they still have their problems, which makes it more real than I actually thought this series would be, given the fact that this is a futuristic, but not that too much, futuristic setting of a drug, and some kind of trial will make sure that you no longer have mental illness issues. And even though this series is serious for the most part, it does pull off some pretty funny scenes. And I mean, it goes all out, but it fits in the setting, which is the most bizarre thing. You have this extremely serious setting, and then for some reason, something is just off. For example, if you have seen the trailer, at some point Emma Stone is an elf, and it is a pretty serious setting. But then you find out that Emma Stone's elf character is a drunken bum and swears a lot and doesn't speak this fantasy-ish language. We often see elves depicted as these well-spoken, almost British gentleman-ish higher beings, and then here is Emma Stone drunk as fuck and just swearing left, right and center. It's funny because it is bizarre. It doesn't really fit in, but then you think more about it and it really does. It's hard to explain. So just the character dynamic, the character depiction, the story, the pacing, the directing, everything about this series is top notch. So what didn't I like about this series? Again, there are some hiccups in the pacing, especially the beginning of the series is extremely slow. And I know that we need to establish these characters. However, I do kind of feel like that the first 2 episodes, for the most part, could have been smashed into one. Then again, I'm not sure that would fix the issue, because that would probably create another issue, which would mean that the introduction to the series will be too rushed. So it's kind of hard to balance it. And then the ending is, I know there's a lot of things they need to wrap up, but you kind of feel like the last episode is just the epilogue, and that is it. The meat of the story is concluding in episode 9. So episode 10 is just there to, I don't know, see where the characters are going, I guess. But besides that, there's not really that much fault to this series. However, I will say, if you don't like these mind experiments who's kind of showing you an abstract view on life, this series won't be for you. This is a weird series, but not too weird. You can easily follow along, and it is only 10 episodes long. It's not gonna be 2 seasons, pretty sure, because they kind of definitively end the series. So it is a proper miniseries like Band of Brothers, but completely different from Band of Brothers. I've also say, if you don't enjoy the series after the first or second episode, then you won't enjoy this series at all. But I highly recommend it, because this series, it's not just amazing, it is an epic masterpiece. I'm not even joking. This is the year's first epic masterpiece. It might be this year's only epic masterpiece, but this is the best series I have seen this year. And I know that Daredevil season 3 was amazing, but this is just something completely different. So yeah, this is for now my most favorite thing I have watched this year. It's kind of sad, really, if you think about the lineup we have had this year. Yeah. But the next favorite thing might be... No, I'm not going to delve into that, because that is going to be my top 10 list. So, anyway, so Maniac, have you seen it? What did you think about it? And what is your favorite series or movie who dives into the mind? Whatever you think, come around with your thoughts. And as always, until I see you in the next video, remember to stay awesome. Bye! She's a maniac, maniac, do 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 do.